my very, very cordial rebuttal to Jerry what I mean. The Equal Protection Clause does not mean that laws must treat people equally. How could a law possibly treat somebody equally? When we pass a law against rape, you're not treating the rapist equal. When you pass a law against murderers, you're not treating the New England Patriots equal. Oh, okay, that was beyond the realm. That was beyond the pale. But when look, the law, the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution simply means this, that people who find themselves in similar circumstances must be treated in a similar way. So that if you are a smoker, you must treat all smokers. You must discriminate against all smokers. You must discriminate against all rapists. You must discriminate against all. So if the law says that we're not going to allow 3 people to marry, then you've got to treat everybody the same way. No 3 people can marry. Same is true for gay marriage. It's not unconstitutional. The law discriminates all the time. It discriminates against behavior. Jerry's version, and dare I say Justice Kennedy's version, of the Equal Protection Clause would undo the entire state criminal code. Because we're all treated unequally. Speeders, when you're flying down the highway 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, next time a cop pulls you over, say, I'm going to file a Supreme Court challenge to this ticket. I am being treated unequally. Guy next to me is not getting the ticket, but I am. Just because I'm a speeder. The law has a disparate impact on speeders. Well, yeah, that's what the law does. The only thing due process and equal protection mandate is that all speeders get the ticket. The cop can't say, oh, you're a friend, or you're black and I like black people. I'm not going to give you a ticket. That's the violation of equal protection. You've got to treat everybody similarly if you're going to charge them or if you're going to deny them a benefit, like gay marriage. That's why it's perfectly legal, but it's now under assault from the Supreme Court of the United States. Tim, in the Twin Cities, hi.
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Well, I'm exasperated, as you can tell. I warned the good people. I warned the good people of North Carolina last night that this was going to happen. I never thought I would be this accurate.
Yeah. I think you're thinking of the dumbest thing wrong. You have to think like a progressive.
Yeah.
And what do they think? What can the government do for me? Right? So here's another scenario.
Well, that's why I say anybody that pays a higher tax rate than any other American should file an Equal Protection Clause claim.
Sure.
Because they're being treated unequally.
Yeah, here's another scenario. I've been very successful in my career. I've got a great job, great benefits. My dad's retired. What if I want to marry my dad? So he can get my benefits. I can get his Social Security survivor benefits, and he can give his estate to me tax-free.
Well, here's what they'll say, and this is how arbitrary it's become. Well, now there's no compelling interest there. There's no rational basis there. We believe in equal protection, but we draw limits, and that's how they're drawing this arbitrary line. Look, you're right. If you applied this principle in a principled way, then you would have to strike down all laws banning polygamy tomorrow. Because essentially in the gay marriage debate, they're saying the government should have no say between people who love each other. People who want to marry ought to be able to marry. Same sex, opposite sex, whatever. So if I want to marry 2 women, what interest is it of the government? But what they'll do is they'll say, well, you see, that's different. That's not good for the kids. Well, you mean raising kids in a gay home is good for them? How do you know that? There's no studies on that. I mean, it's just, that's why what the court is doing is making up law as they go along. And that's, by the way, there is a place for that in our republic. It's called the legislature, where they arbitrarily create laws. And they say, well, we like gays, so we're going to let them marry, but we don't like polygamists. And if the legislature wants to do that, fine. But it's not up to the court to do it. So we're in a brave new world because, you know what? You and I have no recourse for a Supreme Court opinion. If our legislature does it, we can vote the bums out. But now we're just stuck. So I don't know what you describe this form of government, but it's something that the Constitution does not recognize. I'll guarantee you that. Tim, thanks for the call. Good point. Where's this going to end? Here's David. He's next up on the Jason Lewis Show. Hi, Dave.
How you doing, Jason?
Doing okay. How about you?
Currently driving home, so feeling better by the minute.
Good.
About this situation, you're writing that we have the 14th Amendment that should be protecting us. There's also a little matter of the 10th Amendment being violated here because the states are being denied their right to justify their own laws and the way they want to govern their people.
Well, but the 14th Amendment circumscribes the 10th Amendment. The state today cannot have one law for Asians and one law for blacks. Can't do that. That's a violation of equal protection.
Correct. That'd be a violation of equal protection based on race or creed or any of those others that we choose to not discriminate against. Except this is more about a behavior pattern, isn't it?
It really is. Even it really doesn't matter whether the whole why is someone gay, nature or nurture debate. It really doesn't matter what that outcome is. The art of being gay is what you do.
Right.
It's not who you are, it's what you do. And that's what they're so that's a behavior. And if we start applying equal protection to behaviors, then anybody who has a behavior that a law circumscribes has a case.
Correct. So if what they're really after, and this is the personal interest part for those people, is that they want their behavior justified, quote unquote, for taxation and other purposes for their marriage, correct? So then why not give them their own separate term?
Well, yeah, I just said that. It's not marriage. Well, some places have tried that with civil unions.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't good enough. They want marriage. They want the imprimatur of the state because they're a bit insecure in their own relationships, and they want that approval, which is rather odd because I know a number of gay people, and I know a number of gay people who don't give a whit about gay marriage, and they're the most secure ones. They tell me, this whole marriage thing, who cares? It is the insecure activists who somehow think they have to get the approval of the straight crowd that is driving this. And so it's not just about the benefits. They want the imprimatur of the word marriage, so they're just as good as you. And it makes them feel better.
And they're looking for that religious justification for it as well, because they want to impose their will on it.
Well, nobody wants to think they're going to hell.
Right, exactly. So,
and I'm not saying they are going. I'm not saying they are going to hell. By the way, I'm just saying that they want their cake and eat it too. But look, the other self-interested aspect of this is on the part of the Democratic Party. Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, said that now gays will become the next Jews of fundraising. I can't believe the guy said this, but I guess as a Jewish American, he can get away with it. If Paula Deen said that, she'd lose another sponsor. But Rahm Emanuel said, gays are the next Jews of fundraising. What this is, gays are wealthy, which, by the way, is rather odd given the fact that they are so discriminated against.
You would think that would force them to be second-class citizens and they'd be poor, right?
Exactly. I mean, how is it possible that our gay friends have incomes that are much higher than the median? I'm a little confused there if they're a discriminated minority group. Anyway, and by the way, the Williams Institute did this study, and a bunch of other studies have shown that too, that the median household income for gay couples is much higher than for straight couples. So Rahm Emanuel is right, and what the Democrats are doing is they're going to tap into this they're going to out-gay everybody. In fact, right here in Minnesota, from whence this program originates, there's already a MN United PAC that is a gay PAC. So the Democrats don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about, upbringing of children or equal rights. What they care about is getting on the right side of this special interest group.
Well, absolutely, because it's all about a power grab for them.
It's sad that the court intervenes in affairs like this when the people should be sorting this stuff out. And, the reason I want the people to sort this out, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, but I'm still not convinced that it's a great idea for children to grow up with two moms or two dads. Call me a Neanderthal. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know. There hasn't been some longitudinal, long-term studies on this. But we've rushed to this judgment that growing up with two mommies is a wonderful experience. I don't know. Maybe it's not so wonderful. Maybe it could harm the kid.
The only show on radio that mixes Barry Manilow, the Beatles, and economics. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how it's worked. But it has. This is the Jason Lewis Show on GCN. GCN, the Genesis Communications Network.
Nutritious food is real body armor. It builds muscle, burns fat, improves digestion, and feeds the entire body the nutrients it needs. Did you know the U.S. government banned the hemp plant from growing in the United States and classified it as a Schedule I drug to hide it behind the marijuana plant? People have been confused about this plant for over 80 years, and many still don't know what hemp is. So now you know hemp is not marijuana, and marijuana is not hemp. They are different varieties of the same species. HempUSA.org wants the world to know these basic facts, and to help people understand that hemp protein powder is the best kept health secret you need to know about. Remember, hemp protein powder contains 53% protein, is gluten-free, anti-inflammatory, non-GMO, and is loaded with nutrients. Call 888-910-4367, 888-910-4367, and see what our powder, seeds, and oil can do for you. Only at HempUSA.org.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
You've seen them on Doomsday Preppers. You've seen them on network television, Shipping Wars, and the History Channel. Now, the strongest shelters money can buy are here. Atlas Survival Shelters. Made in America from 10-foot diameter galvanized corrugated pipe, up to 11 times stronger than square box shelters, and built to last up to 200 years. And you won't believe the amenities. Atlas shelters contain microwaves, refrigerators, big screen TVs, water tanks, septic systems, bulletproof hatches, and much more. Virtually everything you have at home, just buried 20 feet deep and bomb-proof. See the amazing Atlas Survival Shelters at atlassurvivalshelters.com or call 1-855-4BUNKER. That's 855-4BUNKER or atlassurvivalshelters.com. Financing now available. Atlas Survival Shelters. Better prepared than scared.
For years, you've been hearing about Herbal Healer Academy and how it's remained the leader in effective, alternative, and natural medicine and education. But how can they continue to hold that title for years on end? The answer is high quality and huge selection. Just visit herbalhealer.com and shop online or request a free catalog. You're bound to find the alternative you're looking for. Did you know that Herbal Healer carries the latest, safest, and effective weight loss products? You can also count on Herbal Healer for the largest selection of safe and natural supplements just for children. And don't forget your pets. Herbal Healer even has natural mineral supplements for all your animals, including horses, cows, and birds. Take a peek at their online calendar, and you're sure to find everything you need and maybe something you didn't realize you needed. Visit herbalhealer.com and don't forget to sign up for the free Herbal Healer newsletter. herbalhealer.com, working with the power of nature.
Well, it's all right, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's all right, if you live the life you please. Well, it's all right, doing the best you can. Well, it's
This should be in Beatle Bumper Friday playlist. This is George Harrison and the Traveling Wilburys. Let's make a note of that, shall we? Thanks, buddy. 1-855-885-3947. That's 1-855-88-LEWIS. Jackie in Huntsville, Alabama, 1450 WTKI. You are on the Jason Lewis Show. Hi.
Hey, Jason.
Hi, Jackie.
I think you've got a few things right and a few things wrong.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm no fan of gay marriage because I don't like redefining, and so it's not marriage. However, being gay is not a behavior. It is who someone is. You couldn't find any way to convince you to live your life differently or with a male partner. You are heterosexual. You don't just have a behavior.
Well, I tend to agree with you. However, there are psychologists who say there's a continuum, too, that some people, how do you explain bisexuality? How do you explain behavior in prison, especially amongst males? The human sexuality is probably more flexible than what the proponents of gay rights would have you believe. But by and large, I think the people are born with these predispositions, no question. However, there's been a number of studies showing, by and large, people are born with addictive personalities, whether it be substance abuse or alcoholism or what. There's an addictive gene where people are more apt to try a drug or drink and get hooked. So maybe we ought to carve out some rights for those people.
Well, you're going off on a whole different subject, and I do think that it's important to take a look at the fact that people would not choose. And just to be clear, I happen to be heterosexual, but people would not choose to be in a situation where they very often are shunned, they very often are rejected by their families. And for men who are homosexual, very often those who want a committed long-term relationship have more difficulty finding it, because men tend, in general, as a whole, to be more promiscuous than women are.
Great, and they ought to adopt kids. Wonderful.
Well, no, I'm not saying anything about that, but I think you're painting with a broad brush, and especially when you say that those who are proponents of gay marriage are those who are more insecure. I think there's just no basis for that. So, you can take a reasonable stand and say, we don't do well to redefine marriage. Perhaps there's room in society to identify something for people who are gay, because they're not simply making a choice.
Well, I didn't look, I'm certain you're an expert on this, and I'm certain you've done more long-term studies than any other caller we've had on the program. So I'll defer to you and your expertise on human sexuality, even though many other PhDs disagree with you, but I'll defer to you on that. That's not the point, Jackie. The point is the gay rights lobby is playing underhanded to get their will, and in the process, they are shredding the Constitution of this country. That's the point.
Well, and if you would stick to that point and not do things that sound like name-calling when you call people insecure because they want it.
You mean like people that have a genuine disagreement on gay marriage being called homophobes, that kind of name-calling, you mean? And
you know
worse?
what? It doesn't. So if they do it, it's good for you to do it.
You know what happened to the backers of Proposition 8 in California? You know what happened to those people?
I voted for it, and I do know that some of them were vilified and attacked, and that records were collected. I was living in California at that time.
So please, that's my point. Let's not get on the holy roller bandwagon that all gays are saints and all people that have a genuine disagreement about marriage are evil. I'm tired of that nonsense.
That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what the majority of people say. And yes, you can find people at either end of the spectrum on any argument.
Well, look, if you think there ought to be a civil union, then you need to go to the state legislature in Alabama or Sacramento and get it done. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Those people who wish it should work for it. I don't object to it. I don't propose that it's a positive. I don't like the idea of redefining marriage. I agree with you on that basis. or on that point.
Well, let me explain it this way, then. The reason that some people don't think we should make these decisions willy-nilly, and especially have courts do it, but have a long, drawn-out debate, is some people don't think, or I shouldn't say don't think, they are concerned about gay adoption. They are concerned about redefining unions. They have genuine beliefs that this may not be a good thing. Those people aren't evil.
No, they're not evil. And we're really pretty much already past it on the gay adoption. It's already a fact.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because, frankly, I think that's an issue more worth debate than gay marriage.
I agree.
We don't know what's going to happen to all these kids who are growing up in a very, very different lifestyle. And we wouldn't tolerate it for polygamists.
We don't tolerate it publicly. There are plenty of polygamists who do it, and there are plenty of adults who have already been reared in same-sex households, and they tend not to be homosexual themselves. And those are studies that show that, Jason, not just my expertise, because you wanted to take a jab at that.
Well, it's funny because there's only been one long-term study of grown adult gays, and it was done by the University of Texas in Austin. So I don't know what studies you're quoting, but there haven't been. The only prominent national longitudinal lesbian family study, everybody knows what it is, and it's so you can say that we know this and we know that, but we don't know, and that's why you tread these things carefully.
Yeah, you're pushing things over to one side, and what I'm saying is that I think that you actually have a foundation in something that is important, but that you probably lose some people who even agree with you when you start to paint with that broad brush and when you start to name call. And just because someone else does the same, it's not a good way to proceed to get your message across.
Well, I agree with that analysis in the architecture of debate, but I'm just trying to recollect the name calling. Well, who did I call a name?
Well, I consider it that when you say that it's only the insecure who are pushing for this.
All right, I'll concede that point. It's anecdotal. The gay people I know have very little interest in the gay marriage debate.
Right. And most of the gay people I know do have a very strong interest, and they happen to be close friends of mine, and I still don't agree that we should redefine marriage.
Jackie,
I feel for them.
Yeah. What would you do for them?
I would say they should pursue it as some sort of a civil union, some sort of legal right that they want, but I don't think we should be redefining marriage. At one point earlier, you said something about...
I got to go, but you get the last word this hour. Thanks for the call.
That's been another lesson from the tenured professor of talk, Jason Lewis. Learn more at jasonlewisshow.com. We suggest you stick around for more.